Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are doing our budget interesting commanders, the EDHrec top 5, and we're doing the budget food commanders. I'm actually making a budget food deck tomorrow. I'll go over it, and yeah, I thought it'd be kind of nice to pair them together maybe. About food, so food tokens were not well liked a short time ago, even 2 years ago. If you asked me if I'd be building a food deck, I'd be like, definitely not. What are you talking about? Like, I guess maybe 2 years ago. Is that the Lord of the Rings set was like 2 years ago? Yeah. Basically, the Lord of the Rings set is when it really kind of took off. Like, they added so much like functionality and flexibility to the food tokens that now they're actually pretty good. Like, I'd say, let's say 3 years ago, treasure tokens, good. Clue tokens, food tokens, stupid. That was about it. Do I want treasure tokens? Yes. Do I want the others? Nah. So yeah. But food is still an interesting one because, like, you got your life game mechanic in there as well. So you're kind of pairing this artifact mechanic with a life game theme. So yeah. It has a lot to do there. Please hit like and subscribe. It makes such a big difference, and if you don't hit like and subscribe, you're going to be one of those people who's scared of balloons now. Yeah, you'll develop a fear of balloons. In the 99, so we got Knight of the Sweets Revenge. This is actually, I recommended this card for people who want a food deck. It is 3 and a green for this enchantment, and when it enters the battlefield, create a food token. So it makes a food token, and food tokens you control have tap, add green. So if you've got 3 food tokens and you cast this, it's going to come in and make a food token, which you can tap for 4 green. Basically, you can get it for free if you have 3 food tokens. You're like getting your mana back that same turn. And probably you can have a lot more than 3 food tokens. Food tokens are great because they're so easy to make. So making them all into like mana rocks is insane. Not only that, but for 5 green, you can sacrifice this. And creatures you control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of foods you control. So it is 7 to activate this ability. It's not messing around. Also, you have to sacrifice this, but that's probably your win con right there. You can do this at instant speed, keep in mind. So you can see how blockers come out, even if you've got like a whole bunch of token creatures. If you've got a bunch of 1/1 token creatures and like even 5 food, you probably have a lot more than 5 food, but all of your token creatures suddenly have +5/+5. That's crazy. 32 cents only. Rosie Cotton of South Lane. Okay, this is 2 and a white. This is what I thought would be worth more by now. So when she enters the battlefield, create a food. Hey, good start. Whenever you create a token, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control other than Rose. A lot of these things will say like, put a +1/+1 on this creature. This does not. This is any other creature. Really just like enhancing your board and probably doing it very, very quickly in a food deck, right? Finally, yeah, sorry, that's 25 cents. Finally, Samwise Gamgee for a green and a white. Selesnya, whenever another, he's a 2/2. Yeah, whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a food token. Anyway, I thought I had Peregrine Took on here. I should have had Peregrine, but anyway. Sacrifice 3 foods. Return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. So historics again are artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. Not really using a lot of sagas on this list, but artifacts and legendaries. Every deck is going to have at least some legendaries. Artifacts, every deck is going to have at least some artifacts, right? So it's something that you might not use all the time, but it's an option all the time. So yeah, really good for 186 only. Number 5. So we've got our first commander. We actually have two partner commanders on this list. We've got Merry and Pippin. So again, Pippin is black-green Golgari for this 2/2, and he partners with Merry. Pay 1, tap, create a food token, sacrifice 4 foods. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So all of your creatures getting that +3/+3, that can really make a difference. Haste as well. You know what? If you're making a whole bunch of tokens or something, possibly. But yeah. And Merry is actually a green and a white, 1 green white. I covered that by accident, but anyway, for a 1/4. And he partners with Pippin, of course. And whenever one or more artifacts enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. This ability triggers only once each turn. So each turn, remember? Each turn is actually very good because Pippin has an ability where you can pay 1 mana, make a food, and when you make that food, you're going to make 1 soldier. And you can do this once each turn. So meaning during your opponent's turns, you can keep making foods and making soldiers. That's one of the main things we want to do in this deck. It also sets us up with more lifelink, where you can really kind of hammer down on that life gain strategy. But yeah, what I'm focusing on in my suggestions here is the actual just getting that, making those tokens or those bonus tokens every possible time you can. We'll talk more about like how to maximize our life gain strategy later. Anyway, this pair is only in 118 decks. I'm sure it's actually much higher, but this is another theme like last week where I think people don't really consider it a theme on its own, like aggro last week. Like a lot of decks are aggro, but all of the list numbers were very low. I think a lot of times you're like, oh, it's an artifact deck, it's a token deck, it's like, well, those can also be aggro though, right? Same thing with food. You think food is probably like a token deck, an artifact deck, is getting called something else. So I think this is actually much higher. Anyway, 124 for both of them. This is for both of them. Oh, we've got Gilded Goose for 1 green. This is a 0/2 flyer. A flying blocker, 0/2, not a bad start. And when he enters the battlefield, create a food token. And for a 1 and a green, you can tap and create a food token. Again, if you're using your food tokens to make mana, then this can actually be very useful. Or tap and sacrifice a food token to add 1 mana of any color. Maybe not your first choice, right? 88 cents. Next up is Savvy Hunter. So 1 and green black. Whenever Savvy Hunter attacks or blocks, create a food token. So this is perfect for this deck because as long as you can keep blocking with Savvy Hunter, she's going to keep making those tokens, and then you're going to keep getting those bonuses, right? During your opponent's turn. It really adds even more kind of like of a distance incentive to attack you. If it's like, I get 2 things now if you attack me, probably enough for a lot of people to say, yeah, I'm not going to attack you then. Anyway, 25 cents. Sorry, Gilded Goose was 88 cents. Savvy Hunter, 25 cents. Tireless Provisioner. This used to not be in my budget range. But then you know what happened? I got one. So yeah, the price dropped. I swear. Any card that's like $5 to $10 range, if it drops, it's because I got one. I honestly, I don't know. Anyway, 2 and a green for this 3/2. It has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, create a food or treasure token. This is very nice because it's the flexibility, right? On your turn, you're getting your food, which means you don't have to use your tap abilities on your turn. You can save them for your opponent's turns. Also, yeah, it's food or treasure. So do you want ramp or do you want to set off your treasure, trigger? Sorry, your food trigger, not treasure. Yeah. So again, if Merry isn't on the battlefield, you probably should just make treasure instead. That's probably better. Anyway, 125. Number 4. Okay, Bernard Ginger Sculptor. So we got 1 green, white, blue. Bant. Anyway. Okay. He is in. Sorry, let me start with 3. He's a 3/3. Each creature you control that's a food or golem gets +2/+2 and has trample. That's a pretty major anthem effect that he's giving to 2 types. They're 2 kind of odd types, but definitely usable, especially since he has blue in his color identity. That's what I'm looking for. Whenever another non-token you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 food golem artifact creature token in addition to its other types. This is so abusable, right? Anything you want to sacrifice, instead of like sending it to the graveyard, getting it back out of the graveyard, you can sacrifice it, exile it, then you get this token copy. Again, it's exiled, so you can't keep doing it, but how many times are you really going to do it in a game? It's not very often I've had where I'm playing a game where I actually keep pulling a thing out of the graveyard multiple times. I think getting this one extra time is probably going to like be pretty normal. Like if you're going to do a whole bunch of recursion, I think you'd probably end up doing about the same amount, unless you got some weird like infinite combo kind of thing or something. But yeah, just the ability to like sacrifice something, and even if someone's using targeted removal, you can use a sack outlet, sacrifice it yourself, get some kind of bonus, and then make that copy, right? So it is very, very good for that. Anyway, 183. So we got here Blade Splicer. Here I really focused on the golem because there's all kinds of bonuses for golem that you can get that is really quite good. Anyway, Blade Splicer, we got 2 and a white for this 1/1. So when it enters, make a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian golem artifact creature. Golems you control have first strike. So it's going to make a 3/3 golem and give all your golems first strike. Again, if you can excuse me, if you can sacrifice this, you can make another golem. Right? It's going to enter again. And this copy is going to be a golem as well. So it's going to give itself first strike. It's going to have trample and +2/+2. So yeah. Next up, Wing Splicer, 3 and a blue. So when it enters the battlefield, once again, 3/3 colorless golem artifact. Perfect. And golem creatures you control have flying, adding first strike and evasion. Again, like flying trample, amazing combination. First strike trample, also an amazing combination. I just did a video talking about like trample combinations, and this is maybe not. I love Death Touch is probably what you really want to get, but this is pretty amazing. Evasion and first strike. Yeah, so mean. Anyway, 25 cents again, and now we've got EDHrec, Savage Splicer for 4 and a green. All right, so when it enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. Yeah. And whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on EDHrec and a +1/+1 counter on each golem you control. So every time you sacrifice, you can sacrifice like artifact creatures, make token copies of them, and for every one of those that goes to the graveyard, he's going to keep pumping up all of your golems on the battlefield. So they're going to be like these +2/+2 trample, first strike, flying, and just however many +1/+1s you can get down on it, which is going to be a lot. If you have a sack outlet and artifact creatures, you're just going to keep doing this, right? So yeah, 24 cents only. Oy. Number 3. Okay, Shiloh, Child of Ungoliant. I remember when this was not as cheap a card. Yeah, the Spider Kindred thing is quite a nice little bonus, but anyway. 4 black green for an 8/8. 6 casting cost for a commander is high, but it's an 8/8. Oh boy. With Death Touch and Ward 2. Oh boy, oh boy. Other spiders you control have Death Touch and Ward 2. All spiders get Death Touch. A lot of spiders have that already, but you know what? Hey, why not? Making spider tokens is not super hard either, so yeah, they're going to have a nice bit of bonus there. Whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature except it's a food artifact. So yeah, basically you get to make these copies. They're all food artifacts. They are not creatures anymore. But yeah, any static abilities, still not static abilities, that's the wrong term. Any passive abilities is what I should say, are still useful. So if you get like, if you could tap it and draw a card or something, or tap it and make something unblockable, or whatever, you know, things that don't involve attacking or anything like that. So that would not be helpful, but yeah, these definitely are. Anyway, only 63 cents. She's only in 150 decks. Definitely much higher. I think those decks are almost all probably food decks because she makes things into food. But yeah, they don't consider themselves food decks. Or the people who make them don't consider them food decks. But anyway, Spinner of Souls. Focusing on the Spider Kindred here, because that's the real kind of meat and potatoes. For 2 and a green, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So every time something you have dies, a non-token creature dies. Yeah, non-token creature dies, you just go get another thing. So this is just going to keep your board filled up all the time. Again, just make sure your creatures are all like spiders or spider enhancers, or you know, make token spiders or whatever, and that's pretty much your whole strategy set right there. 81 cents. The Swarm Weaver. This is 2 black-green. So when it enters, create a 2/1/1 black and green insect creature tokens with flying. As long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, insects and spiders you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. Again, your commander's given them Death Touch already. It's kind of nice to have a backup. The +1/+1 is probably the main thing. So yeah. But yeah. Also, making extra spiders when it enters. It's not a spider itself, but it does make spiders, so that's quite nice. 32 cents. I think I said that already, but Arachnogenesis, 2 and a green for this instant. This is another card that was much more expensive not that long ago. I feel like prices are even more chaotic than they used to be. This is an instant. Create X1/2 green spider creature tokens with Reach. Reach is awesome because, yeah, you've got Death Touch from your commander and Reach. So, yeah, they're just any flyers. So, like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. They need, like, first strike flyers to just, like, not get taken out immediately. But anyway. Prevent all combat damage that we dealt this turn by non-spider creatures. So this is a real, like, you just decide only you get to do damage this turn thing. You've got all spiders, and yeah, I doubt anyone else is going to have like a whole bunch of spiders kicking around. So someone swings at you, you're going to block a whole bunch and just cancel out everything you don't want to happen, and then you're going to steal all their stuff because they're attacking you. 185. Number 2. Okay, Rocco Street Chef. So he is a, excuse me, red, green, white. What's that called? Not your business. For the 2/4, at the beginning of your end step, each player exiles a card from the top of their library until your next end step. So 1 full turn they have to use these. Each player may play that card into exile this way. So they do get to play the card. If they play the card, Rocco, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So Rocco is going to put a +1/+1 counter on any creature you want and make a food token. So you might think, oh, well, people are just not going to use those cards then, if it gives me advantage. They probably will, because remember, if they don't use it, they lose it. That's the main thing. Where it's kind of like, you have it for this one turn, you are getting an extra, you're getting a bonus, but it's gone if you don't play it. It's just out of the game altogether. It's getting permanently exiled. So yeah, probably end up playing quite a bit of it. Also, +1/+1 counter theme. Exiling cards or playing cards from exile and food token theme. There's so much to work with. There's so many options. It's actually kind of hard to choose. 35 cents. He's only in 199 decks. Once again, this is food decks. He's like a group hug food deck thing. So that is stranger, but I still think this is too low. Balin the Haymaker. This is, I would have put on the, oh boy. I would have put on the 99 if it wasn't for the color identity. Like, that's getting pretty niche, right? So once again, he is a Naya also. So red, green, white. For this 4/3. Again, 3 different colors should be more than just a 3/3. Anyway, yeah, good. Tap 2 untap tokens you control, add 1 mana of any color. So again, all of your food tokens, for each 2 you have, just 1 mana anytime you want, and you don't have to sacrifice them or anything to get it. So really good. Tap 3 untap tokens you control, draw a card. Really, just wait until it's right before your turn on the last player's end step. Tap down all of your treasure that you have untapped. For each 3, you're just going to like keep drawing cards. This is going to have you set for card draw. As long as you've got your food going well, you might just be set for mana and card draw. And you can tap 4 untap tokens you control, put 3 +1/+1 counters on him, and he gains trample until end of turn. So yeah, the first time he's going to turn into a 7/6, and then a 10/9, and then yeah. Also, none of these require that he taps or anything, so you can do this multiple times in one turn. So if you've got 12 foods or 12 tokens of whatever kind, you can tap all of them and do this 3 times, giving him +9/+9 and trample. Just all of a sudden, you're going to have this like, what is that? A 13/12 with trample, just out of left field. Like, oh boy. 97 cents. Inspiring Statuary. This is one that could actually go in a lot of different ones. It is 3 mana. Non-artifact spells you cast have improvise. Again, improvise just means you tap a token or an artifact, and then you get, it will pay 1 mana, 1 colorless mana, but still, it's going to like cut down your costs on things. Get anything that is a non-artifact spell. Non-artifact spells. So even instant sorceries, the non-permanents still count, right? This is going to be so much, it's almost like Balin, but a better exchange, because you're doing 1 for 1, not 2 for 1. Anyway, 34 cents. And Dusk Legion Duelist. This is 1 and a white for a 2/2 with Vigilance. Whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on it, you get to draw a card, but only once per turn. Once again, Rocco is probably going to be able to like have people casting things from exile, and he's going to be able to put these +1/+1 counters on during other people's turns. That means you can potentially keep doing this on other people's turns, put a +1/+1 counter on this. So even in a commander game, probably you're going to be able to draw like 4 per turn doing that. So yeah. You should be able to activate it like hopefully once every turn, unless someone's really being, you know, stubborn and just not casting the card from exile and taking the loss, then maybe. But even if someone has like a cascade deck or something, then you're going to have way more of that. Or even plot, right? He doesn't say they have to use the card that they exiled with his ability, just any card from exile. So yeah, 69 cents. Number 1. We got Frodo and Sam. You might have seen this coming, but I was still excited. Alright, so Sam, excuse me, oh my. He is 1 and a green-white. Partner with Frodo, yeah. And At the beginning of your combat on your turn, create a food token. So every turn, he's making one food token. Another thing to consider with Merry and Pippin, I only didn't put him on that list because he's here. But yeah, if you're doing the Merry and Pippin deck, he's almost an auto include. Activated abilities of foods you control cost 1 less to activate. Also, in any food deck, you should pretty much have a Sam in there. Well, in your life, you should have a Sam. But that's a different thing. Anyway, and we got Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit. So he is a white-black Orzhov. I know what things are called. Partners with Sam, and he has Vigilance. He's a 1/3 with Vigilance. So whenever he attacks, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, the ring tempts you. Then if Frodo is your ring bearer and the ring tempted you 2 or more times this game, draw a card. So this is using the ring tempts you mechanic, which isn't bad. A lot of people aren't crazy about it. I think it's alright. I wouldn't make it like the main kind of focus of a deck, but it's a nice little bonus, especially if you can get card draw out of it. It's potentially drawing 1 extra card every turn. I think that 1 card draw, a lot of people think that's not so impressive. If it's a one-time 1 card, it's not. Every turn 1 extra card. Think about how many turns where you like maybe do a land drop and play 1 more card. Really, that's like keeping your hand stacked. If that's what you're doing, it's going to keep you in options, and anything else that gives you card draw is going to be like extra gravy on top kind of thing. So yeah. Anyway, 448 decks. And this is number 1. That is so low. Anyway. 83 cents, once again, for both of them. So we've got Banquet Guest for X green white. Affinity for food. So for every food you have, you can give this a +1. Oh, sorry, I should read that part. Banquet Guest enters with twice X +1/+1 counters. Twice X +1/+1. Power creep. Okay? Power creep is real. But yeah, so for every food you control, this is going to get 2 +1/+1 counters. I almost said it wrong because it still doesn't sound right, but oh my gosh. And yeah, you can sacrifice a food. Banquet Guest gets indestructible until end of turn. So for 2 mana, you can just sacrifice 1 thing, and this is going to be like probably very big, and you're going to make it indestructible just anytime you want. Oh my. 49 cents? Nadir's Nightblade for 2 and a black. So whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So we're going to get like a leech effect on top of like the food life gain effect. And this is a big thing in, well, food decks in general, but this one in particular. So yeah, we're going to look at that in just a second here. 22 cents for that. Gua here. Greatest of the Eagles. 4 and a white for this 5/5 flyer. So whenever it attacks another target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. So it's a flyer that I guess it climbs, the other creature climbs on its back and gains flying is the idea. At the beginning of your each end step. Yeah, each end step. Each. That's very important. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 white bird creature token with flying, and whenever this creature attacks, target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. Huge. I mean, the bird is huge, yeah, but the ability is huge. You can just keep doing this, again, at the beginning of each end step. Each. So your opponents, wait for your opponent's turn, sacrifice a food, which is cheaper because of Sam, it only costs 1, gain 3 life. At the end of the turn, you're making a bird, making a bird, making a bird. You can make 4 of these every round. 4 3/3 flyers that are going to give something else flying when they attack. Oh boy, that's not small. Anyway, 48 cents. The list. Okay, we've got Merry and Pippin, 124. Once again for both of them. Bernard Ginger Sculptor. I think this is the only one that includes blue in its identity. Blue is not big with food, I guess, but anyway, 183, sorry. Shiloh, Child of Ungoliant, 63 cents only. What happened to the value of that? Just nosedived. Rocco, Street Chef is 35 cents. Frodo and Sam, 83 cents once again, for both of them 83 cents. Anyway, take it easy.